Hello, hello everybody. Welcome to the Light at the Waterhole here. In Italy, over in Ogonyo, Kenya. We have a lot of excitement. Well, a few dozen zebra have joined us to begin the show, which of course always puts a big smile on my face. My name is Kerry Dupree, everybody. I will be your naturalist and host on live at the Waterhole on the African cameras without Earth. What an exciting way to start the beginning of our show on a Thursday afternoon. So just a reminder, folks, that this is a live and interactive show. Look at this elephant coming down, taking all the zebra away. So any of our viewers that are joining us today, if you'd like to send your questions and comments through, help me with some birding IDs, or even just join in the conversation and let me know what is on your mind, what's happening with the Olympics, any wildlife related questions, please feel free to send them through. If you're on the website, you may register and ask any questions or head over to X and use the hashtag. You can also join in the conversation on YouTube chat and send through your questions there. Don't forget to use that hashtag @WildEarth, or you can actually scan this QR code right here on the screen right now. Rather useful QR codes. And it has started off lovely today. Nice blue, sunny blue skies in Kenya. In Oldonyo, very big, impressive elephant bulls have joined us today. And of course, our zebra are definitely not short in supply. Joanne Miller, thank you for joining us again today. Definitely. Happy 1st of August, everybody. It is a new month. Lots of new adventures are waiting for all of us. August also signifies, hopefully, the coming to an end of the winter season, which I must say I'm dying to wear a pair of shorts. I was just shopping in town earlier today and I forgot that it's this winter and you're not able to buy any summer clothing at this time. I really do hope with August arriving that our winter is surely coming to an end. Fingers crossed, ladies and gentlemen. I must say, if you are watching from Johannesburg, it's been a rather miserable last 2 days, although I do like the kind of overcast weather. It's been a very overcast. I know at Juma also yesterday the weather was a little bit dark, kind of like those beach days when the sun doesn't quite rise. It's kind of been that kind of vibe here in Johannesburg in South Africa. I hope that your weather all around the world, I hope you're enjoying your summer if you're in Europe. And thank you again for joining us, all of our viewers. These zebra are really busy. Look at them. A lot of politics, a lot of fighting, doesn't it? What's after all the cooking. This elephant bull on the other side of the pan there, I must say, has rather impressive tusks. Very nice big tusks for a Kenyan elephant. We do have some big tuskers here in Kenya. It would be really awesome to actually go to Kenya and see some of them. I don't know if we have any viewers. We have a lot of viewers that have probably already been to Kenya and seen these large tuskers. I'd love to go to Kenya and see the one tusker. His name is Duke. Pretty impressive big elephant, Duke. A lot of photos taken of him. And of course, we also have some rather large tuskers over in Tembe Elephant Park, also as well as Sabi Sands, Kruger National Park, and in Zimbabwe I've seen some tuskers, but I must say not nearly as large as some of the tuskers that you would see over in Kenya. Darcy Miller, greetings, Darcy. Welcome back to the show. I'd love to know where you are from, Darcy. I know you watch the show quite a lot, and yeah, it's always good to have you with. Very good questions you send through. Yeah, it's a great day to be alive on the 1st of August, 2024. Cannot believe this year seems to be running away with us. Very surprised that these elephants are sharing their watering hole with the zebra. Sometimes they have to be quite protective over this watering hole. They are coming in from everywhere. Look, zebra, zebra, zebra. As we were speaking about the other day, these zebra could be the kind of conglomerate of zebra that are starting to congregate to form the migration. Big groups all together, because we generally wouldn't find a zebra herd this large. So to see so many zebra in one area, especially over the last couple of days, probably starting to form together for the migration. All right, well, let's go over to Victoria Falls, my hometown, and see what's happening at the vulture feeding restaurant in Victoria Falls Safari Lodge. Oh my goodness. It looks like vulture feeding time. Check these vulture and marabou storks all feeding. So maybe we can have a quiet moment to just try and listen to see if we can hear the wing flapping and all this commotion that's going on here with the vulture feeding at Victoria Falls. So, sorry, folks, it seems to be a little bit challenging for us to hear these vultures feeding. So, if you have been or are ever going to travel to Victoria Falls, I would definitely recommend heading down to Safari Lodge. I know probably it's normally starting at about 1 o'clock. They have the vulture feeding, which is what we are super lucky to be witnessing right now. So, they do this vulture feeding at the restaurant where you can actually go and watch the vultures. And yeah, it is quite a magnificent sight to see. So obviously, what we are seeing here, we've got some big marabou storks, the tall, black, not too attractive looking birds that are down there in the fewer numbers. And the majority of these vultures are actually the white-backed vulture. So yeah, pretty awesome. If you haven't been to Vic Falls, I would definitely recommend when you do go, you must put vulture feeding onto your checklist. It is quite cool. It's right in front of the watering hole, in front of the lodge, the safari lodge. You have an incredible view, and then you can just spend the rest of the afternoon there watching the watering hole, having a few drinks. They make quite a good cocktail or two, or if you're more interested to have a bit of a high tea, they can do that as well. But yeah, of course, the highlight would be all of these vulture coming down to feed at the Vulture Restaurant in Victoria Falls Safari Lodge. So Darcy Miller, yes, it is quite amazing how these vultures know when feeding time is and how they very quickly all start launching themselves down to come and join in the feeding. So if this was in a bit more of a wild setting, you would definitely have, they've been frightened off by something. So you would definitely have one or two vultures can very easily be spotted by a lot of other vultures higher up. And once they realize that other vultures are no longer thermaling, that's when the vulture will kind of be like a dinner bell to let everyone know that food is ready, and that's when they start coming down in huge numbers to feed. So I have seen hooded vulture here before as well, so they're a bit more black and smaller in color. Mostly seeing here is the white-backed vulture, but looks like, there's a few hooded vulture in there, a little bit smaller. Can kind of look close enough. Sometimes they do look like they are a little bit more black in color to the white-backed vulture. Marabou storks chasing everyone around. That whatever they got fed obviously did not last very long. And once they've finished feeding, they always head down to the closest water source in order to get some water to wash their food down with. Darcy Miller, Indiana, United States. Okay, awesome. I'm trying to think. Do they have I believe could be Canada, not Indiana. There was a condor vulture sanctuary that I had a friend that worked at, but I'm not sure if it's in the US or Canada. Could actually have been Canada. But yeah, thank you for sending through all the information. Good to get the questions. Jade, how do vultures come at the same time every day? So yeah, we have obviously when vultures are, so if there's an animal on the ground, a dead animal, and the vultures have managed to spot this dead animal and start circling and coming down when you're out on the bush, it's definitely something to see. And once one or two start launching themselves down onto the ground, that's when everyone else just, from nowhere, it's like they just arrive, pitch up, and all of a sudden start feeding. It really is like some mystery little dinner bell that is being rung, calls all the other vultures in to feed. So Bill, this pan, they do seem to pump some water into this pan here at Safari Lodge, but not too much water. They don't keep it too full. Otherwise, obviously, yeah, it's not a natural pan that would have a lot of water. So they do pump a bit of water into this pan just to keep it somewhat full for the animals to come through and have a drink. But I've never seen it rather full. Yeah, so you can see there these vulture that are kind of a bit closer to us on the left-hand side of that small pan there. Those look like there's some hooded vulture in there with very light, pale coloured skin on their heads. And it's quite interesting how different vultures are adapted to feed on different parts of a carcass. So these hooded vultures have got very small, narrow heads and beaks in order to go for the smaller tissues and tendons, whereas if you look at the white-backed vulture, they have quite cumbersome bills, which is more for ripping and pulling of the flesh, And then, of course, you do get the lappet face as well, which is more also focused on the larger organs. So they all kind of have their preference of which part of the kill they would like to feed on. Otherwise, there would not be enough food to go around. Oh, looks like there's a bit of a fight that's broken loose there. We are really enjoying watching the vulture feeding at Safari Lodge in Victoria Falls. And my last interesting interaction I had with the marabou storks was when I was, it was a wild dog kill. Wild dogs had just killed a kudu, and the poor kudu, 16 wild dogs managed to completely consume a whole kudu. Probably it was a young male, probably weighing about 120, 130 kilograms. That was completely consumed by a pack of wild dogs within less than 30 minutes. And at the end, there were some marabou storks that were all fighting over the scraps and what was all left over. And yeah, shucks. There were two marabou storks fighting over a piece of intestine, and it really made for some great photos. Shucks, there was a lot of happening there, a lot of marabou storks all fighting. It's like a feeding frenzy. It's kind of like at a kid's birthday party when it's time for the cake and everybody knows there's cake about to be cut. All of a sudden, all the kids arrive from nowhere. Just wondering, how on earth did so many children arrive from absolute nowhere? And I'm sure with this vulture restaurant here at Safari Lodge, these vulture probably have a very good idea of around what time of day they would be fed. I know for animals, it's all like always kind of a bit strange how they can tell time. But just as when your dog knows exactly when you're about to come home and is sitting at the door waiting for you, so do wild animals, wild birds, all kinds of wild creatures, all kind of do have an idea of time depending on the sun and time of day, and they are very intuitive of what is actually happening around them. So I'm sure these vultures know that when the sun is at its fullest peak in the middle of the sky, they will start kind of already hanging around this area from probably 11, 12 o'clock. So they're all ready to come for a feed. So you can see there, mostly white-backed vulture, but there are a lot of hooded vulture down there. See with the narrow little beaks? One of my not-so-favorite vultures is the lappet-faced vulture. If you can have a Google, give him a Google. I'm sure if you've been to Southern Africa, you know. Also big and black and has very pink skin, bald head and pink skin around the head, neck and face. Very interesting looking bird, I must say. Not the most pretty of the vulture species. And all the food is gone. So Lady Macbeth, sending through a question. So, oh yes, Lady Macbeth, very interesting you mentioned about the camera at the feeding station in the Drakensberg. So that is actually the what is it? Which vulture is that? Let me just have a look. That's actually a very special vulture that occurs there. Bearded. It is actually the bearded vulture that occurs at the feeding station in the Drakensberg. I am not lucky enough to have been given the chance to go and visit. Even though I lived in the area, it is a very popular spot. A lot of people, you have to sometimes book even months in advance. But if you are a bird lover, and a lot of people, obviously the hooded vulture is quite a rare and endangered vulture species, so that's why it is so popular to go and see them feeding there. And how the hooded vulture is unique is that they actually feed on the marrow within bones. So what they do is at a kill site, they'll actually go down, fetch the bones, and fly very, very high up with this bone and drop them onto rocks in order to break the bone open to get to that bone marrow within the bone itself. And of course, this happens up in the mountains. You have to do a bit of a walk to get to the feeding station there, and it is definitely something worth doing if you're going to the Drakensberg area. I would highly recommend, but of course, please make sure you start inquiring even 3 to 6 months prior, because I do know it does fill up very quickly. It's a very popular attraction. A lot of tourists love to go and be a part of this experience, to see the hooded vulture in the Drakensberg. So we had a few more comments. Dr. Slicer, yes, we were asking our viewers yesterday, would you rather get free tickets to go to the Olympics, or would you rather get free tickets to come to Africa for a week? And I know we had a lot of viewers that were rather preferring to come and visit Africa for a week. So yes, wildlife is definitely, that's huge, big advantage to coming on safari rather than going to the Olympics. I mean, it's awesome to watch, but I feel like the life experiences you can get from the safari are a lot more beneficial in my terms. But we are all different, and I'm sure a lot of people would disagree. So these are hooded vultures here, all of them. See, we've even got some warthog. So actually quite interesting. I have seen quite a few warthog myself at kills, feeding on carrion. So warthogs can be omnivorous, and they can feed on at kill sites. Or I have also seen them actually feeding on the stomach contents from a kill. It was a very dry area. It was a very hard dry season, and these warthogs were obviously quite hungry, and they were actually feeding at a kill site on the carrion of a dead animal, which the inner stomach, I couldn't see if it was chewing on any bones or actual flesh, but definitely saw them feeding on the stomach content. So Mandy, yes, vultures are very intelligent. We're talking about vulture and how intelligent they are. So vultures are actually, a lot of vulture species are actually endangered, critically endangered, or especially protected species, because they are very much targeted for their body parts in the witchcraft industry in Africa. A lot of people believe if you eat the eyeballs of a vulture, you will be able to see into the future. Or there's something to do with the brain. There's some belief about the brain, it will enrich your mind or give you extreme intelligence, and all parts of the vulture are used for many different traditional ceremonies. I know that obviously the feathers are used quite a lot. They're very also known to be very spiritual items in the witchcraft industry. So obviously that is one big factor for vultures decline, as well as poisoning, so intentional poisoning, unintentional poisonings, possibly at watering holes. And again, this could be to poison vultures, but also could be to poison other animal species, possibly poachers. They also are reducing in number due to habitat loss. A lot of them get hit by power lines, or they just don't have enough habitat anymore. There is a vulture safe corridor along the western coast of South Africa, going up into all the way down from the bottom down like Richards Bay, going up in KwaZulu-Natal, heading up into Kruger, into Lesotho, Swaziland, Mozambique. There's a massive vulture colony within that area that is being made and declared a vulture safe zone. So what they'll do is they'll actually come to your reserve or your farm, and if you want to be declared as a vulture safe zone, there's a certain criteria you have to meet. So you have to make sure your power lines have vulture safe caps on top, to make sure that your watering holes always have a stick or branch or small ladder for the Yes, we're talking about vulture safe zones, and in order for your property or reserve to be declared as a vulture safe zone, not only do you need to get check this, warthog is actually feeding on a bone. Wow. They really do eat everything, pigs, don't they? Just watch them feeding here for a bit. Never actually seen this, so that's quite interesting to see a warthog feeding on a bone. As this warthog is feeding on this bone, so are the vultures, very skulkily lurking and watching, waiting for a chance at something to eat as well. Warthog feeding on meat off a bone. Very fascinating behavior. So we were mentioning about warthogs and how they are omnivorous. This is not unusual. Everything has to get their protein in from somewhere, I guess. This warthog was definitely done with the grass and shrubs and roots for the day and decided that he wanted some real meat. Check how he's using his foot to actually hold this piece of bone there and feed on the meat. How interesting. You don't see that every day. These little hooded vulture are waiting for their chance. So you see the white-backed vulture also have this one that's just come in now. He's a white-backed vulture. They also have less fur or feathers on their head, and this is so that while feeding and putting their head inside carcasses, they don't have much obstruction and can very easily feed without having any interference and feathers and dirt. Their heads would be rather nasty, I must say, if they had a full head of feathers in the way. Joanne Miller, thank you very much for your comment. Yeah, warthogs are quite strange creatures, aren't they? They do eat quite a lot. Anything from grass, shrubs, roots, tubers, fruit, obviously bone, stomach content, meat. Oh, there we go. This warthog has lost his meal. Look at these scavengers. These birds are really scavenging. Aren't they hungry? I know that pigs on a pig farm, you can also obviously feed anything and everything to them. So warthogs, I guess, wouldn't be much different. He's still chewing away at something, this warthog. How fascinating. These little hooded vultures, see, some of them have red heads, some of them have darker heads. It could signify adults, juveniles. Marabou storks also trying to get in here. A lot of excitement and activity today at the vulture restaurant. So obviously this warthog must also know that every day around this time there is food available, and that's why he's also pulled in for a meal. So vulture can be a very good indicator when you're out on safari and in the bush if you're looking for predators. So if you ever see a lot of vultures sitting up in a tree, not necessarily going down to feed, I would proceed with extreme caution, because if the vulture aren't on the ground yet, that means that the predator is possibly still feeding on its meal. Meaning if you were on foot and just happened to bump into this particular predator on the ground feeding, it might be a little bit unhappy with you being there. You do not want to walk into a full, either a hungry lion or a lion or lions with full bellies that are dying to have a nap. And as soon as the predators move off, that's when the vultures then have their turn at a meal to pick up on any of the scraps. So yes, Angie, it is definitely very amazing how these animals all tolerate each other. Again, they are not much of a danger to one another. The vultures know that the warthog would never eat one of them, maybe on a bad day. And the vulture are not going to harm the warthog in any way. So they kind of have a commensalistic relationship, I would say. Not friends, but they're not competing for, well, they're so semi-competing for food. The warthog's definitely bringing a different element of intrigue to their day. Like, why is this warthog here feeding on our food? So vulture are a very important part of our ecosystem, like I was talking about earlier, how it is so important to conserve the vulture species that we have within Africa, because they are very important for keeping the ecosystem clean. So they help to clean up the landscape of carcasses and curb the spread of many diseases and bacteria. So stomachs of vultures are very strong and have very strong enzymes in that kill off any dangerous toxins and microorganisms which might be harmful to other animals. So I know they don't look like the most beautiful of creatures, but they are a very key and vital link in the food chain. Without vulture, we would have a lot more bacteria, a lot more disease, a lot more dead animals. So they are very important for cleaning up the ecosystem. Just as everything does, every creature, no matter how big or how small or how pretty or how ugly, always has a very important part in the circle of life to play. So Kelly is asking a question about vultures and if they do hunt. So these vultures, the white-backed vultures, I would say are mostly scavenging and mostly scavenge. Your smaller vultures, like we were just talking about the bearded vulture just now, I have actually seen the bearded vulture hunting before, but again for more small rodents, and what else is hunting? Small rodents or any other smaller birds of prey, but generally vultures are mostly scavenging species or scavenging bird of prey. Marabou storks, on the other hand, do hunt. Actually, they're pretty good hunters, the marabous. You'll often see marabou storks, especially this time of year, at the watering holes, cleaning up on any fish that might be trapped in the shrinking puddles of water. I know, Catherine. The vulture are definitely not afraid of this warthog. They are rather close to him, I must say. Not afraid at all. This warthog's just looking for some leftovers. So yeah, the marabou storks, you'll often see them with the other storks, a lot of other stork species, hunting in puddles. But most vulture species are scavengers. And the reason for this being is that they lack their powerful feet. So their feet are not of they don't have the foot structure of a true raptor like eagles and hawks do. So that means it makes it quite difficult for them to actually be able to catch prey because of their weak foot structure. I have had a few interesting sundowner evenings with some guests showing them how the vulture dance goes. I love doing the vulture dance. Maybe when I'm next live on Wild Earth, I'll give it a bash and see if I remember. So when vultures have just taken a bath, they'll generally hop around with their wings splayed, looking quite strange, I must say. And this is, a lot of people might refer to it as a vulture dance. It's quite interesting to see them all hopping around, trying to get the water off of their wings, dry themselves off. See all these bird species are just feeding in harmony. So if you see a lot of vultures or areas that might be very busy vulture hotspot zones, you'll often see a lot of white substance. So this is called, it's their scat, what you'd call from a vulture. So the defecation of a vulture, which is a uric acid excrement. And this white excrement is it is quite toxic. So in some cases, for example, when they're nesting in big trees, I've seen some big baobab trees that vultures have used for nesting purposes. And unfortunately, this very toxic uric acid scat of theirs can cause quite a lot of damage to the branches. I haven't seen it killing any trees yet, but definitely I have seen it killing a few branches on a tree. And then, of course, sometimes you'll see they have this same white substance on their legs, and can be dual purpose. It can be in order to kind of cool them down in the hot summer days, help them to thermoregulate their body temperature. And also, it's quite interesting, this uric acid of the vultures, so the excrement of the vultures, not only is it used as a bit of a thermoregulatory for vultures to help cool them down in a long hot day, especially like marabou storks. You often see marabou storks with long white legs. It's actually a very good way to protect themselves from bacteria at a kill. So if they have a lot of excrement on their legs, that will actually form as a protective layer for their skin in order to protect their legs from any bacteria. Cool, looks like we have some activity at Nkoro. Let's go see what our fish eagle is doing today at Nkoro. Oh, looks like our fish eagle has a kill. So this could be our fish eagle from yesterday. Looks like he has caught himself a nice big fish. Could be a tilapia. Look at this fish eagle having his lunch. Wow, it's really awesome sighting to see a fish eagle so close up with a kill as well. So why don't we just have a bit of a quiet time and we can just watch this fish eagle feeding away. The majestic African fish eagle. Whoop. Sorry folks, looks like we had a little bit of a challenge with our feed there with our fish eagle, but we have linked across. Okay, looks like we've got our feedback with our fish eagle. So let's head back to see what our fish eagle's up to, and hopefully we don't have any trouble with our feed. It's majestic to watch a fish eagle feeding. Obviously, it was sitting in a treetop, very, very accurately watching to see any prey that might come down, and then swoop down and manage to catch himself a nice fish for breakfast with those large talons of theirs. You know, their eyesight must be very, very good, because I don't know how I would manage to swoop down and triangulate the exact location of most likely a moving fish and still be able to catch it, sometimes even with only one talon. His wings are a bit broken there. Hey, fish eagle. Hope he doesn't fly away. Joanne Mello, this definitely is a beautiful scene. I think we had the same fish eagle yesterday, looking a little bit more hungry than he is today, obviously. Interested to see what kind of fish that is. Does it look like a tilapia of some sort? Could it be a catfish? Look at that sharp bill of his beautiful yellow cere. That skin at the base of his bill, and a sharp bill especially for ripping fish and consuming their prey. Looks like he wants to take off. He's got a bit of a feather that might be loose or broken at the back there. Just to be careful, because if there's any other predators around, I know a lot of predators that might be interested in stealing this fish away from the fish eagle. So he's quite brave to be on the ground there. Maybe there aren't too many trees around for him to feed on. Or maybe he's just confident that no one is going to steal his meal. Yup, off he goes. Thank you, Mr. Fish Eagle. That was rather entertaining, I must say. Sharing breakfast meal with us. Let's see what else is around the pan here. The Sabi Sands. Looks like we have a hummercup down there at the watering hole, also looking for a bit of a feast. And is that, shame, is that a hippo? Oh my goodness, gracious me. A big hippo that is in the pan, but obviously you can see there's not too much water in this pan, so maybe it's just a stopover point for him. On the way to the next pan. There's a bit of movement there. I wonder if there's not a baby hippo with this. Adults? What is there? There's something else moving. Let's have a look. It's a little three-banded plover on the left. This is not an ideal place for a hippo to reside. So this hippo better get out of here as quickly as possible. There was no hippo in this pan yesterday. Oh, hello, elephant. We've got some visitors. We have some elephants coming to join us. We had a lot of elephants here yesterday, also at the pan. There's a bit of mining going on. I think there seems to be a little bit of a mineral spot here that's quite popular with the elephants. They were all fighting over yesterday. This looks like a little breeding herd. You can see the old female on the far right-hand side there. Shame looks like she's dropped her condition quite a bit. Shame, poor old girl. I'm very curious about what else is in this pan. Did it look like there was something else moving next to that hippo? I don't know if there's another hippo there, although this is most likely, I guessed at first, a big hippo bull just on his own. Also doesn't look like he's in the best condition. But maybe it's just some fish still left in this pan. So Ryan is asking if this water is even healthy for the elephants to drink. So yeah, obviously this pan's water is not the cleanest of water, but surprising what animals can actually survive on. And we've got a little warthog coming to join us as well. Oh, the whole family of warthogs. What is happening here? Surely in a rush. The hummercup has landed on the back of our hippo. So yeah, animals can survive on drinking even the most putrid looking or dirtiest of water. Obviously they do prefer nice clean water, but they can survive and drink quite dirty water. Although there was that outbreak of what was it? It was some sort of a kind of, oh, what's happening with our hippo? Whoops, trying to move. My most concern would be this hippo, that he definitely gets out of this pan as quickly as he can. You can see lots of fish. Wow, there's a lot of fish that are trapped in this pan where this hippo is. So I think I'd be more concerned about this hippo, that he doesn't stay in this pan too long and definitely moves to another area before the water dries out. Otherwise, he could be at risk of heat, heat stroke, not having any water. And but of course, hippos will move at night, so they can move anything from about 20 to 35 kilometers at night, a big hippo, from one water source to the next. So that's probably what has happened here, because we did see this pan yesterday, and there was definitely no hippo in this pan at the time. So he's come into this pan at night. Maybe he miscalculated where the next water source was and had to come here as an emergency resort. And no, Catherine, I will agree with you on that one. These elephants are probably not too excited to be drinking this dirty water. We were talking about the outbreak of elephants that died in Botswana and some parts of Zimbabwe from an algae that was also formed in the dry season on some of the watering holes. Shame. Quite a lot of elephants died. I think it was in early 2000, maybe 2020. It was only that one outbreak that happened, and I think the Botswana government very quickly contained the outbreak and managed to find this algae, and since then we haven't had an outbreak like that again. But yeah, shame. It's unfortunate that the animals in the dry season, there's not many options with water sources that they have at their disposal to drink. Well, I found it quite interesting, as soon as that hippo stood up, you could see how many fish are in that water around him there. Probably some catfish, some tilapia. I'm sure you've all watched quite a few documentaries of, in Kenya and Tanzania, of waterholes drying up in those areas, and pythons and all kinds of creatures getting completely dried up in these waterholes. Even crocodiles would also have to relocate from one pan to the other. These little warthogs also coming for a drink. Ah, I see. So if you look on the left-hand side here, you can obviously see where this pan was being pumped. There's a Sorry, folks, we are having some challenges with this camera here. It keeps glitching. So let's head over to Jabulani and see what's happening at one of our other locations. Oh, hello. Welcome to Jabulani, everyone. We have a little monitor lizard here. So we did, I think we saw the same monitor lizard the other day, almost in the exact same spot. This is a perfect little hidey spot for a monitor lizard, because if any danger comes, he can, one, drop straight into the water, or two, this looks like a very mysterious hole that would be a nice home for a monitor lizard. Not too much is going to be able to get him from there, because this monitor lizard would be a very delicious snack for a lot of predators. I've seen, actually on Wild Earth, leopard trying to eat a monitor lizard, lion, any bigger birds of prey will take on a monitor lizard if they are feeling up to it. Hello, little monitor lizard. Look at those claws, look at those talons, specially designed for digging and scratching. They are egg experts, these monitor lizards. They raid a lot of waterfowl's nests, or any ground nesting waterfowl that nest close to the water. So, for example, your African jacanas or any of your duck or geese species that might nest close to the water. You do not want to have a monitor lizard coming by. Even crocodile eggs, monitor lizard will find a very nice snack in eating a crocodile egg. He is hanging on there for dear life. Sometimes you don't even notice these monitor lizards. So whenever you pull up to a pan, that's always something I always have a double check for, is if you've had your first scan at a little watering hole or a pan or a small water source, haven't seen anything, my second double check would always be to look for terrapins and monitor lizards, because they often check it in, blend in so well to the environment, you hardly even notice that they are actually there. So we get two different species of monitor lizards in southern Africa. Obviously, this is the water monitor, and we also get the rock monitor, which water monitor, as in its name, is very water dependent, although you can find them quite far away from water, I must say, whereas the rock monitor lizard is not water dependent at all and prefers to be in very it can be very far away from water. They will also take refuge in big holes in trees. I think on Juma, on one of the boundaries, the one day, Biffles Hook boundary, we did find ourselves a massive rock monitor lizard that looked like he had just climbed out of a hole of a mopani tree. What is he looking for, this monitor lizard? He is searching for something. So we did have a question coming through from Rebecca Bishop. Thank you for sending through your question, asking about, is this a Nile monitor? No, I know the common name for this one is definitely a water monitor or monitor lizard, and then your savanna monitor would be the rock monitor, and that's kind of the one we are also speaking of. They are kind of similar, although the rock monitor does, or savanna monitor, does get quite a lot bigger than this little water monitor. So this is a sub-adult. He's a decent size though. He's really blending in well to that hole, so you can barely see him there. He's still got a little bit of length to grow on him there. It is one of the largest African lizards, this water monitor. It's got a very elongated head as opposed to the rock monitor, which has got a more rounded, cumbersome head. Their coloration and pattern is slightly different as well, and they have a very thin, flattened tail, which is a perfect weapon for whipping. I must say, if you've ever been whipped by a water monitor, it's not a pleasant thing to feel. I've been whipped before, once or twice, walking through some reeded vegetation close to a riverbed, and there was a monitor lizard raiding some nests or something. And yeah, as I walked past this monitor lizard, it gave me a nasty clap on my leg with its tail. So it's kind of one of their main defense mechanisms. Obviously, their thick tails are very good for whipping, especially predators like a little baby leopard or baby lion trying to eat a monitor lizard is going to get flicked in the face a few times, and that's not going to be too nice. Obviously, another defense mechanism would be those talons or claws of theirs are very sharp. They'll give you a very nasty scratch. They do have a bite. There's not any venom in their bite. Obviously, a lot of bacteria in their mouth, which once they clamp down on you, my brother once tried to rescue a monitor lizard that, I don't know, something happened. It seemed to have been abandoned in a dried up puddle, and yeah, there was didn't seem like there was much hope for this little monitor lizard. It was very dehydrated, so he rescued it, tried to get some liquid into it, some rehydration salts, and this thing clamped onto his finger, and for about 30 minutes would not let go. So once we did manage to dislodge this monitor lizard from my brother's finger, we went and put it back exactly where we found it. Yeah, I think he just wanted a bit of liquid, a bit of water, and then he was ready to go on his way. Their skin, the skin of a monitor lizard, is also very thick. It's very difficult for predators to bite through that thick skin of theirs. So that is, again, another defense mechanism of theirs. So besides eggs or little birds on ground nests, they will also feed on crabs and frogs, possibly even fish if they are quick enough. Seems like he's moving. And a female monitor lizard will lay anything from about 20 to 60 eggs at one time. They will generally have been recorded to lay their eggs inside termite mounds, which is pretty cool, hiding their eggs inside a termite mound. And they hatch after 4 to 6 months incubation period. See that forked tongue of his that he uses to pick up on any scent and smell. I must say, I'm quite petrified of those Komodo dragons that you get on Komodo Island. I don't think I'd like to come across one of those monsters, because I believe they can take down a whole deer, those Komodo dragons, and how they actually operate and hunt is they will bite their victim, and the venom that is within their mouth actually slowly starts to kill their victim. And yeah, they will track the antelope that it's bitten, and after a few hours to a day, eventually their victim will lie down to rest and die. Yeah, those Komodo dragons look rather crazy, I must say. I would not want to come up against a Komodo dragon. Cool. Well, while we are on the reptiles, why don't we go to Tao and see what reptile is waiting for us there? Oh, we have a crocodile here on Tao Game Reserve in South Africa. We did have, I think we might have seen this crocodile yesterday as well. He's got very interesting coloration. He almost looks like he's got a chessboard pattern on his tail. And you can see the coloration on the top of his body has changed quite a bit. He could have been lying somewhere where there was a lot of algae that has kind of stained the top of his body a bit on the top of his scutes there. And he is really enjoying his sunny tanning session that he's having there. Eyes are closed, he's completely relaxed. Not a worry in the world. No, there are two crocodiles here. This pan and a towel. We will have a bit of a pan around just now. Let's see if our other crocodile is also lurking somewhere close by. Joanne Miller, yes, it is awesome. We are having a very good reptile day today. These crocodiles sunbathing, the best time. Whoop. And we have our shelled ducks today, and we have both male and female. How awesome! So we saw yesterday. I've seen a few times this male shelled duck, which is the one with the grey head, and now today, closer to the crocodile, we have the female shelled duck has joined him. There is also some black-winged stilts. Looks like that a could be a coot, red-knobbed coot, or a crake, or a moorhen. What is it? Looks like a coot, red-knobbed coot, having a bit of a bath. Egyptian geese also. Just looking around to see what vegetation they can feed on. Oh, no, it's a moorhen. There we go. We have a moorhen. And there was also a grey heron here yesterday that was in breeding plumage that I think is slightly showing us. Yep, there he is. Isn't he beautiful, that grey heron? Nice to see that these shelled ducks have found, the male has found his partner again. Shame he seemed to be alone here for a couple of days. All the wildlife seems very busy, so we'll keep a lookout on the little banks and islands if we can see any other crocodiles around. The biodiversity of bird life at this pan, I must say, especially waterfowl, is quite astonishing. Yesterday we had what did we have? We had a spurwing goose, we had a grey heron, and we also had a yellow-billed stork, all just chilling in the same place. Egyptian geese seem very busy here always. I think I've seen some teals here before, red-billed teals. Oh, what a lovely day. Looks like the sun is shining at Tau launch here. We had some red hartebeest at the end of our show yesterday at Tau. That was also pretty epic, I must say. I really enjoyed seeing those red hartebeest. Nice big breeding herd came through just as the show was about to end. A lot of moorhen activity here. Shame it does look quite dry at this location, I must say. Not too much other greenery around. This would probably be a much better location for our hippo to rest and reside at, rather than at the other pan where that poor hippo is currently lying. Oh, what a lovely scenery, just watching these birds going about their day. So I don't know if anyone has been watching the Olympics, but there's been a few exciting achievements for Zimbabwe and South Africa. So there was um, a Zimbabwean swimmer, Paige Van der Westhuizen, who actually came first in the 200-meter, and she's actually, yeah, broken one of the records there. So yeah, pretty exciting for that race there. 100 freestyle shows 58 seconds and 19 milliseconds, which is pretty fast, I must say. And then a South African swimmer, um, Tacha Smith, also has made some pretty amazing records and become the second athlete in the Olympic history to actually win a 100-meter and a 200-meter race. So pretty incredible. South Africa flying their flag very high. Same with Zimbabwe flying their flags very high in the swimming. South African men's hockey is also doing pretty well. South Africa is, yes, green is definitely making their country proud. Oh, looks like we might have found the other crocodile. They've moved there. Shame. Sorry, we can't zoom in there too much. This crocodile seems to have changed his location since yesterday. But yeah, awesome to see this crocodile. We've got two crocodiles here. It's a pretty good reptile day today. Yeah, lots happening. Lots happening. Let's see what else is out there. Oh, we've got a black crake here too, just on the left. Black crake looking for some vegetation and food to feed on. So that is the bird that we actually heard yesterday. If you were watching the show yesterday, when we were at Ukukuyu, there was a black crake calling very close by, which was pretty awesome to hear when we were listening to all the elephants having an almost pool party at Ukukuyu yesterday in Nitosha. So this little black crake that's feeding there, he's actually an omnivorous species of waterfowl, and what he's looking for is any aquatic invertebrates or any sort of worms or crustaceans, mollusks, small insects or larvae. A little tadpole would be a good meal. Well, there doesn't seem too much happening at Tau, so why don't we head across to Ordoño and see what has arrived at the watering hole. Whoa! Oh, this is very, very busy here today. We also started the show with a bang, lots of zebra at Ordoño. Look at this elephant bull. Isn't he impressive? Looks like there's also, it could be an eland, or no, oryx. Looks like a beautiful big oryx in the background there. Of course, this elephant is being the star of the show. And looks like there's a couple of other elephant bulls just in the background. How impressive are those elephant bulls there? Beautiful tuskers. Haven't had so much luck with big tuskers the last couple of days here at Ordoño, but today, wow, we are definitely seeing some of Kenya's best. There's our oryx. Shame he's also trying to come in for a bit of a feed, but there's not going to be much space with all these zebra that are here. We've also had eland the last couple of days at Oldonio, so I wonder if the eland are also going to come around. And we haven't seen our secretary bird for a couple of days, so I wonder where our secretary bird has gone off to. Look at those tusks. These all look like very big, impressive elephant bulls. They're coming down for a drink. All the big boys. Time for the big boys to come for a drink. Apparently, one of the biggest sets of elephant tusks ever weighed and recorded was 120 kilograms. But now I'm a bit confused because it didn't really specify if that was both tusks or just one of the tusks. But yeah, I'd definitely say these bulls' tusks would be decent weight, probably 30 to 40 kilograms, maybe both. Obviously, there's a large portion of the elephant's tusk that we don't actually see. It's hidden within the jaw there. It's in a chamber. Crazy that the elephant's tusk is actually a modified tooth used to help them while feeding and fighting. Manipulate vegetation in order for them to be able to feed. So we have a question here from a Joanne Mello, who's asking about the difference between a zebra and elephant in size. Quite a big size difference, I must say. So a big elephant bull, these elephant bulls we're watching here, could be anything from about 2,000 to 6,000 kilograms. So that's in tons, you'd say about 2 to 7 tons. And of course, your zebra, you're more looking at a female is about between 180 and about 200 kilograms, and a big male can get all the way up to 300 kilograms. So it's quite a few thousand kilograms difference between a zebra and a big elephant, like these elephants we have here. And wasn't that awesome to hear the zebra vocalizing? So that was probably two zebra fighting, or you will often hear it's a distress call as well. You hear the zebra with this distress call. Oh, check the fighting. There's lots of fighting going on here. Oh. Isn't it just so lovely to just sit and listen to these animals? The elephants splashing and washing themselves, and the zebra just getting up to no good. What's happening? And these tuskers are rather impressive, I must say. What a lovely day it is, a Thursday afternoon. We have some beautiful elephant bulls, massive giants that have come to pay us a visit at the pan. Lovely dazzle of black and white zebra all around. Kimberly, I agree with you on that one. It must be very strange to feel so big, just like all the other, so much bigger than all the other animals in the animal kingdom. But again, elephants will definitely use their size to their advantage. For example, these bulls have been pretty relaxed, but at times you find these big bulls don't like to share their watering hole with other animals. So they definitely use that weight and push it around quite a lot, and can be quite big bullies when it comes to watering holes. I know there have been some lodges in South Africa that set up elephant fences in order to keep elephants out of the watering hole. So it's basically a fence that's probably from about 10, 15 foot, and it's just a few electric wires that an elephant can't go underneath to get to the waterhole. They obviously can't climb over it. So it's kind of like at head height for an elephant, or shoulder height. And obviously, when the elephants first started coming to this watering hole, they had no idea how to get around. And someone eventually did take a video of this one elephant bull actually crawling underneath the elephant fence. So where there is a will, there definitely is a way. And this elephant made sure that he found a way. What a funny video that was. An elephant climbing underneath a electric fence to get to water. We have a giraffe that's also joining us today at the waterhole. I don't think this giraffe is going to get much space to come in here, I must say. He'll be lucky if he gets a spot. Now see the elephant comes in and he just pushes his way through. Everyone moves for the elephant. It's been really, really awesome seeing these big elephants today, I must say. I'm very grateful. My last day on live at the waterhole for maybe, I don't know, 2 weeks or so, a week. So I am looking forward to seeing what else is out there today. But we have been very lucky. I mean, so far already, the elephants have been magnificent. Zebra was rather entertaining when they're in big groups. And of course, we had the fish eagle kill, which was awesome to watch. Vulture restaurant has been super busy. So all in all, it has already been a very active day here at Live at the Waterhole. Look at these zebra shame, this poor giraffe. So it looks like they actually are pumping this pan because since yesterday there definitely is a lot more water in the pan. See on the right hand side of the pan there's a bit of an overflow there which was not present yesterday. Otherwise these animals would drink this pan dry. I've actually on multiple occasions in some camps in Africa seen elephants emptying a swimming pool overnight. So this gives you an idea of how much water they can actually consume. Another big elephant bull coming down. Bit of saggy skin by his leg there. Look at those tusks. Hello, boy. Looks like a very old bull. And of course, we have some eland that have also joined him. This poor giraffe keeps sneaking his way in. There's also a male. The oryx have come back. And the eland are also around trying to get a bit of a drink. I don't know. This pan is very busy today. I wouldn't want to be trying to drink from this pan. It's like when you go to queue at the driver's license department or at the police station or to the bank and you see a queue and it's like, no, I don't want to go anywhere near there. That's what this pan would be like on a day like today. Super busy, lots happening. Poor giraffe. He's just thirsty. He just wants to come for a drink. Zebra can also be quite big bullies, I must say. They can be very aggressive and do dominate a lot at watering holes or any feeding stations if you've witnessed that. They can be quite nasty and a lot of other animals are afraid of a kick or a bite from a zebra. Not something you want to contend with. See that Oryx is also popping his head in there, wondering, hey guys, when can I come for a drink? When can I come for a drink? Make some space, make some space. Yeah, unfortunately, the stress levels of animals will be escalating quite a lot this time of year. Water sources are obviously disappearing rather rapidly, and definitely limited water for all of these animals. And the less water there is, the more competition there is for feeding, for water. Let's see if this giraffe is going to get a chance to come and drink. So we had a pretty cool sighting here yesterday at Oldonyo. We had an auger buzzard, which I must say was one of the first times I've seen an auger buzzard. Came flying in on the right-hand side of the pan here, dropped down as if he was about to make a hunt or a kill for something, and then very quickly disappeared onto one of the trees. But we did manage to get a bit of a glimpse of him, and yeah, it was pretty epic. Maybe a new bird species for some people. It's cool to see a auger buzzard yesterday, black and white. We call it yellow cere, yellow feet. That was a pretty cool sighting, I must admit. Shame, this poor giraffe has been dying for a drink. Looks like everything cleared out very quickly. I'm glad that the giraffe managed to get a chance to come down and have a drink. And Ivan also looking a little bit skeptical about coming for a drink. I thought that I heard a really cool Franklin calling in the background there, but I think it was just our wattled starlings calling in a bit of a synchronized duet. Look at this giraffe. He's still wondering what's happening. Are there some elephants that are going to come and chase me away, or do I have a clear green light to just come and have a bit of a drink? They seem quite nervous at this pan, I must say, the giraffe. Although giraffe mostly always seem nervous at times. And there's a big flock of wattled starlings that have just flown in for a drink. This giraffe is not liking this. He's like wondering, I don't know, I don't trust the situation. What's happening here? So, Kimberly, thank you for your question. Kimberly is asking, what is the difference between a vulture and a buzzard? So, obviously, buzzards are a lot smaller in size compared to a vulture. Buzzards are small raptors, so they generally tend to not fly at such high altitudes and elevations, just like with the vultures. So, a lot of vulture species will often fly at very high altitudes. That's in order to catch thermals, to travel for very far distances, because they're actually not very good at flying. So they need to be able to catch these thermals up to move over very, very long distances. We were also talking about just now the foot structure. So the reason why vultures are not very good at hunting is because they don't have a very well adapted foot structure in order for them to hunt, whereas buzzards are quite well adapted to be swift flyers. So again, hanging out in habitats a lot lower and closer to the ground. So your like mid-strata canopy of your savanna or forest, and they have very, very keen eyesight, so very well adapted to hunting and quickly, swiftly flying through the savanna in order to catch their prey. Marking wise, also, the buzzards generally tend to be a little bit more elaborately marked, whereas vultures tend to have more of a quite a drab brown feather color, not as beautifully marked as a lot of our buzzards that you would find. This giraffe still seems rather skeptical to come for a drink. All the elephants around, I'm not surprised. He's got a lot of oxpeckers on him there. There's definitely a lot of oxpeckers and most of the wildlife at this watering hole. Let's see, is he going to drink? Is he not going to drink? Shame. As he puts his head down, you can also see how those oxpeckers really give him a hard time going into his eyes and ears. Poor guy just wants to have a drink. Let's see if he's going to come down. Doing his sun salutations to have a nice drink. Oh, sorry, it's hard to keep up with this guy. He is moving a lot. He's rather antsy. Like he's got ants in his pants. I don't know if anyone, while watching the show, well, not while watching the show, but if anyone watching the show has ever had ants in your pants. I'd love to know how your experience went. There's a lot of ants that occur in the jungle, and it is a common occurrence to have ants make their way up your trousers. And I have had on a few occasions some guests getting ants in their pants. Luckily, there was no disrobing involved, but I have heard some horror stories from some guides of their guests that had to be extracted from a gorilla trek to go and remove their clothing because they got ants all up their pants. So unfortunately, when you get, it's called a carpet, so when you get a big like drove or colony of ants moving through the forest, look at this beautiful oryx. So if you get a big drove of ants moving through a forest, they carpet a whole area, hundreds of thousands of them, and unfortunately you can be standing in a carpet without even knowing, and by the time you realize, you might have half a colony up your pants. And yes, sometimes the only way to completely get rid of them is to take your clothing off because they get everywhere. So if you have ever been on safari and you've had a terrible experience with ants, please feel free to share. I know sometimes in the UK in the parks as well, you do have ants while you are picnicking. So I know that is also a bit of a challenge. But the ants I had experience with in West Africa, I must say, have no mercy, and they go straight up your clothing and then start biting you. And by the time you realize, it's already too late. And yeah, I myself have also had to almost extract myself from a gorilla trek before because I had a couple dozen ants that decided that they wanted to take residence in my clothing. And yeah, it was a rather unpleasant. One of the camps I worked for in Central African Republic, in the welcome briefing and in your welcome pack in your room, it does say if your room does get invaded by ants in the night, the best thing to do is to just vacate your room, speak to the nearest manager, and you will actually be given a new room, because these droves of ants sometimes come through camps and take over the whole camp. Yeah, that's a very good point, Catherine. There might be some people sitting in this hide, and that's maybe why the giraffe is so nervous. Sometimes I feel like maybe they can hear us on this side, and that's why they are super nervy, but there's no way of them being able to actually hear us. But yeah, that could be a vehicle close by or some tourists sitting in the hide. That's why this giraffe is rather nervous. Talking about that oryx that's right there, I would not like to be stabbed by an oryx. Those horns of theirs are rather formidable. So similar to a sable, like sables have more arched horns that arch backwards. But if a sable has a lion on its back, and some of the big bulls, I've actually seen a big bull sable once upon a time scratching his shoulder blade with his horn. That's how much it arched and actually was so close to his back he could scratch his shoulder with his horn. And yeah, they will actually, if lions are attacking them, they'll use their horns as weapons. And I would not like to be stabbed with a horn from an oryx or even an eland. Well, there is that little springbok. Mercedes Ben, thank you so much for your story about your terrible ant incident. Um, you always think that there's no ants there, and then all of a sudden pop up from nowhere, and you're like, "Oh, what's happening?" And then they just come from nowhere. So yeah, thank you for sharing your incident. Yeah, no, the driver ants or the safari ants and Matabili ants, I must say, are my top three worst. If they're bright red or bright black, danger. You know that it's definitely not something you want to mess with. So, yeah, beware. Look at this Alex drinking here. I love the different colorations. Well, why don't we head over to Tembe Elephant Park and see what is bouncing about in Tembe? Whoa! Looks like we have a beautiful big elephant bull here at Timber Elephant Park, and we also have a little brown hooded kingfisher. Isn't he cute? Brown hooded kingfisher just on the left hand side there, sitting on a little acacia branch. Taking up the sunshine. This elephant has also got a piece of mud stuck on his tusk. Seems like this is either a little mining spot here, mineral spot, or it could be where there is a pipe that is feeding the pan coming from this area. Oh, kingfish is gone. We might have a scan in a moment and see what else is bouncing about at Tembe. Oh, kingfisher's back. So that's what is quite nice about the kingfisher family and the bee eaters, is that they are generally quite they have perching spots that they generally always come back to. Looks like we've got little African jacanas here. Also looking for some little insects to feed on. Any grubs, insects, larvae. Very cute. The mud skippers, or call them the Jesus bird, because they can walk on water. Their feet are almost double their body length in size in order for them to be able to maneuver and walk on the lily pads. Another name for the African jacana, Jesus bird or lily trotter. Ah, Catherine. Sounds like you had an interesting ant situation in Costa Rica with ants invading your room. Not the most. Must be because you were near the forest. I don't know. Ants in the forest, they are just wild. Wild, wild, wild. Little jacana, and we have a male impala. Looks like he was actually trying to use his horns to maybe dig up some mud as well. Our little brown-hooded kingfisher is looks like he's hunting. So again, like we said, it's nice that these perching spots are very good spots for kingfishers and bee eaters. So if you are a wildlife photographer, and if you have a lot of patience, if you see a bee eater or kingfisher flying away, just generally just keep watching the little spot they just flew off from, because they'll normally come back. I love how the brown-hooded kingfisher has this little red bill and a blue lining to the wing and tail. Normally eats little insects, grasshoppers. You can find any grubs. I'm going to play the call here for you of the brown-hooded kingfisher. I hope that you can hear. There we go. I hope you were able to hear that. That is the call, the brown-hooded kingfisher. And he's very brave. This elephant is right close by and he's not moved a muscle. So yeah, it's very interesting. The kingfisher family is a very good example of how every family group of mammals or birds has had to evolve into different niches to fill different niches and feed on different food. Otherwise, if all kingfishers fed on fish, there would not be any fish left. So you have the giant kingfisher and your smaller kingfishers like your pied kingfisher and your malachite that all feed on different sizes of fish. And then you have still water dependent. And then, of course, you also have the grassland or woodland kingfishers that have now adapted to more feeding on insects and small grubs and don't even feed on fish at all. We have some Egyptian geese, so looks like they're filter feeding. A great white egret there, so looking for some insects. Oh, love to eat a little frog or a fish. So he's also hunting. I love how a lot of the egrets, when they're about to make a kill, they do a bit of a side winding motion with their neck in order to triangulate their prey and then go in for the kill. Egret is definitely very curious of something that's going on inside This vegetation, maybe a little frog that snuck away into the grass that he's looking for. Let's see what he's going to find. What are you looking for, little egret? Long spindly legs to give them a bit of height and elevation so fish don't see them coming or hunting, but I'm sure it seems like he's found something in there. Maybe he saw a frog or something disappear into this thick area. Oh, we've got some impala also resting. So you can see it's obviously quite a chilly day throughout most of southern Africa because these impala, see how their fur is slightly fluffed and fruffled, meaning that it's a bit cool, a little bit chilly, and they possibly are trying to, especially in the early mornings, you can see impala, the coats are definitely a different color, trying to fluff themselves up. I'm sure you feel this. We all feel the same, humans too. When it's a bit cold, we fluff ourselves up or tense a little bit. And we have a little three-banded plover having a bath. Look at him there. Cape turtle dove or ringneck dove also coming down for a drink. Oh, look at this plover. Isn't that just adorable? Very cute little plovers. Three-banded plover. And this Cape turtle dove or ringneck dove will be looking to see if there's any little seeds, grass, or food waiting for him there closer to the water. Yeah, I do hope that tomorrow we have some sun coming out here in Johannesburg because the last 2 days, even right now, it doesn't even look like the sun is really shining. It kind of looks like what I can imagine must look like in England a lot of the time. Very overcast and gloomy, cold weather. Praying for some sunshine tomorrow. Our egret has found something to feed on it. Joanne Nello, thank you for joining us as well. Really appreciate having your support, and you have been with us for most of my drives the last 2 weeks during the week. So thank you for joining us. It has been an absolute pleasure having you on safari with us here live at the waterhole. And I hope you also enjoy the rest of your Thursday and have a lovely weekend ahead. These impala still busy munching, feeding. You can see this female that's lying down on the ground there. You can see some of her fluff that I was talking about. While our egret is still on the hunt, going in for a kill. that reeded vegetation just behind our egret there is perfect habitat for a lot of water species. Farmers are giving themselves a nice groom. You can see some small palms that are shooting up here. We possibly germinated from the elephant's dung. So it has been a lovely day today, folks, on Live at the Waterhole. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. It has been really a pleasure being with you these last 2 weeks, and I look forward to being back with you very soon. It's been a lovely day. We've had a lot of elephant activity, lots of zebra activity, a fish eagle on a kill. So, all in all, it has been a lovely day. Wishing you all the best for the rest of your week and wishing you a happy 1st of August from me and the Wild Earth team here at Wild Earth. Have a lovely day.
As ever, my name is Liam Burrow, and I'm the naturalist in our safari tent this afternoon here at Djuma. And I'll be chatting you through a couple of the highlights of the last couple of drives with Wild Earth TV. Of course, before we forget, the legendary man behind the lens operating the camera today, Albertus van der Merwe. Super! Well, I hope everybody's got something nice and warm to drink. Set yourself up somewhere comfy with a good view. And please remember as well that we do, of course, like to keep this show as interactive as possible. So please keep those questions, comments, thoughts, etc. Coming to us throughout the show. Brilliant. Well, looking forward to check out a couple of the exciting sightings that a few of the Wild Earth naturalists have had over the last couple of days. Yeah, certainly from our side here at Djuma, we've had a couple of sleepy drives, but the same is certainly not true of our naturalists up at Mabula, Amy, and certainly Eric down at Amakhala in the Eastern Cape. So shortly we'll be taking a look at some of their best moments from drive over the last, I think it's 24 hours or so. I think, though, time now to check out our first clip.
Wow, this has been such a treat. We left the flycatchers and found a cheetah lying in the grass. This is a female cheetah and she's just resting here. Fortunately, with the vehicle sound, she lifted her head